It's Monday the 24th, I can see it on the laptop screen, 7:33. I'm using the Zuo ASI 533 MC Pro camera to image Jupiter, as you can tell. And the sky is reasonably stable. I'm at 200% zoom. We're getting a good view of I believe this to be the North Temperate Belt down there, plus the two equatorial belts, with a hint of the thin belt that exists on the equator of Jupiter. This is probably as good a view as I've got the other evening. I've got lots of clouds in the sky. There is a bit of an opening towards Jupiter. I'm hoping to be able to do some imaging of deep skies this evening. There's no guarantees. The weather is king and queen of astronomy. I'm in the Backyard Observatory through the 150 Eddy, and we're operating in the planetary imaging modality, which sets up the exposure time and the gain automatically. Exposure is 20 milliseconds, and our gain is 200%, which is about a third of the maximum gain. And we are getting a fairly decent view. Of course, we're not seeing anything of, well, there might be one of the Galileans right there on the screen. And since I'm not trying to image them, although it would be interesting if we could resolve the disk. Remember, the Zuo imaging camera uses internal cooling. It has a 3008 by 3008 pixelated area, which resolves area disk down to about 0.5 arc seconds, which is slightly better than a 6-inch scope, which can only resolve down to 0.8. We are getting a tremendous amount of magnification on Jupiter. And if I were to sketch this, I would say I probably could add some fine detail to a sketching of Jupiter, but fortunately we do not have to do that because we have the imaging camera on the scope. Getting a bit of drift. I had it centered up before, and that drift is largely due to the fact that the Gemini, Losman D Gemini 2, I have not played with the stepper counts at all. I'm just using the standard ones. So at some point in the future I may want to play with it, but not now. But I will tell you this. When I set the Gemini 2 to orient towards Jupiter after adding about 20 seconds onto the clock, it was pretty much in the field of view. I was very impressed with that. And I am very pleased with the drift adjustments I made my last session out. So let this either be the final view of the evening, Carpe Noctem, or it could be the first view of the evening. So I think I will do a bit of a star alignment. You can see that Betelgeuse centered up relatively decently on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and do a synchronize to it. The atmospheric instability is quite apparent with it. We are just using the same planetary settings as before. I will play with the fine adjustment of focus just a little bit, but remember we are operating at 500x. And I could back out to something that is more associated with deep sky, which would typically be at about the 40% level. See, we're dropping 120, 110, 100, which would be 5 times the 50x or 200x. Let's go to 150 if we can, so that would be 20 times, we'll call it 70%, which would be 1 millimeter exit pupils. And we've done a pretty good job of centering Betelgeuse on the screen. I'm going to synchronize to it, and we're going to have a look at Rigel if the clouds do not block our view. Rigel did not center up particularly well, but it is visible to the scope, and I do believe we are looking through some thin clouds, but there is a dark underside to them. So what I probably should do is go ahead and add center up Rigel and add it to the model. And that should be an interesting effect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, I centered up Rigel, but I just looked at the West model in terms of parameters. The values are extremely poor, minus 74.75 on the horary hour index error. The deck is minus 725, which isn't bad. Polar axis azimuth is minus 50.66, and the polar axis elevation is 23.49. Because I do want to actually do some imaging tonight, I don't want to play with the model, but maybe the next night out, because things are centering up reasonably well. We can go back to Betelgeuse, and I'll check that out. Okay, instead of going to Betelgeuse again, I decided to go to Aldebaran. It's in Taurus near Jupiter. You can see it in the upper part of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the model now and see what happens if we go to Sirius, for instance, if it's visible through the clouds. Determining the clouds are a little thick down south, and also the scope may want to flip to the east. Here is Betelgeuse once again, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to the model. We are looking to the west, so I don't mind screwing around with the model a little bit just to see what happens to the parameters. Because tonight I'll be looking towards the east if I get the holes in the sky that I hope for. Well, after all my efforts to create a new model, this is where Castor turned up. It's probably about 5 arc minutes from the center. Clouds are starting to thicken up a little bit. I doubt I'll be doing any more astro imaging this evening. I'll leave the observatory set up, come out and check in a little bit when it gets darker, and hopefully we'll be able to at least image Messier 42, 43, and with the possibility of turning up some kind of galaxy in a part of the sky that is revelatory. Anyway, there we go. Well, I did hope to see some galaxies tonight. I am seeing some brighter stars in the sky. I'm sure there's clouds up there lurking, high thins and possibly opaque ones as well. But the sky actually looks pretty good. What you're seeing here is Messier 65. The alignment was not very good in the scope, and I don't want to take any time to do it. I had to really shift it around to make it out. But let's do a little bit of a zoom in and see what happens to the galaxy as we do so. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100%. Not bad. The focus may be off, but the scope is now on the opposite side from me, so I don't really have good access to the focuser. But you can see some broad extension on Messier 65, the part of the Leo trio. I don't think the sky is going to get much better than it is now. Don't have a lot of expectations for being able to push the envelope a little bit tonight in terms of deep sky. But I think what I will do is I will align to Castor or Pollux, hopefully, and synchronize the scope and try to capture some deep sky studies in the sky's middle third overhead. So this is our first view of the evening. I am not impressed with it, but let me back out. And stars are sharpen up right about there, which is, what is that percentage? 40%, so we're operating at roughly 80 to 100x at this point here, and I do think some focusing is required. Well, I can't be sure of this, but I'm hoping what we're seeing here is NGC 3002 is a galaxy in Ursa Majoris. It's said to be magnitude 16, but I think that's probably its blue-violet. It's got the right aspect ratio, 1.1 by 0.4 arc minutes. I can see it on the screen nicely, but this camera here is overexposing it. So I'm not sure what to do about it. If you see this star here, I'll have to check it out tomorrow. The galaxy is located right about there. I wish I could get the Sony Handycam to behave a little better, but I've had trouble with changing the sensitivity of the camera. Let's hope that it's visible tomorrow. This galaxy, which is probably a magnitude 14.5, it's got no information about what type of galaxy it is. It does seem to have the right aspect ratio. I'll have to look it up tomorrow. It's a right ascension, 9 hours, 49 minutes, and 7 seconds with a declination of plus 44 degrees, 2 minutes, and 51 seconds. It's quite present on the screen, fairly faint, and if it is a 15th magnitude galaxy, it looks about what I might expect. So it all depends, and it was way off the screen, sorry, when I first tracked it down. So this could be a neighboring galaxy that's a little brighter than the last one. But let's go ahead and pick out it. Well, this galaxy is pretty exciting. It's in Leo Minor. I'm going to give you the data on it. You can see it very edgewise up near the top of the screen. It's going to take me a while to really nail down the presentation in the camera as well as on the screen. Sorry about that, folks, but what I want to do is get a sense tonight of what things would look like, and we do have what appears to be a fairly dark sky. Let me give you the data on NGC 3003. We're in continuous mode, so we should get, and we're operating at 10-second exposure times, which means pretty close to 20-inch telescope behaviors in terms of what's visible, if it's actually being revealed on this camera screen. So let me go ahead and get the data on NGC 3003. As I said, it is in Ursa Minor. Not Ursa Minor, in Leo Minor. It's quite visible on the screen there. It's a very nicely edge-on. Magnitude 11.9, 5.7 by 1.4 arc minutes, so close to a 4:1 aspect ratio. It's considered a spiral with a bar and a lower BC, 2.5 times removed from lenticular. Some 64 million light years distant, puts it at about 100,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 948.35, declination plus 33 degrees, 25 minutes and 17 seconds. What I might want to do is see if I can't get the screen to darken up on the laptop rather than on the camera, because I've been having trouble with that. But I am fairly impressed with that particular view, despite the fact the screen and the camera are not presenting particularly well. While that sits there a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and search for another study. There's another magnitude 16 galaxy. I think we'll go to it because this one's got a nice edge-on presentation. So let's go have a look at it, and I'll see what I can do with the screen brightness on the laptop or the camera. Okay, what I did is ran the brightness down on the laptop to 20%. We're looking for a 16th magnitude galaxy, and we are seeing something right in here. It still seems rather bright on the Handycam. Anyway, I will tell you about this galaxy. It's NGC 3005. I will give you the data on it. Okay, the galaxy is present over here. It's vaguely presentable. I can see the core is blending evenly into the spiral arms. It's magnitude 16, 1.1 by 0.2 arc minutes, but once again, that magnitude 16 is probably blue-violet. It's a spiral with peculiarities, 210 billion light years distant, with a right ascension of 9 hours, 49 minutes, and 14 seconds. We're not quite getting the scope blockage yet, but we are at declination 44 degrees, 7 minutes, and 47 seconds. Once again, I suspect this is probably because it's probably a 15th magnitude visual galaxy. It's presenting well on the screen at 10-second exposure time with continuous exposures. You can see the core is now getting a little brighter right there on the screen. I'm hoping you will be able to see that. I certainly can. Aha! There's another galaxy very close, NGC 3006, and now it's centered pretty well on the screen. That was the one we saw previously. So I suspect that's what it is. I will give you the data. It's a little brighter. Not much though. 3006. This is the kind of views I wanted to get with the moon out of the picture. I cannot believe the sky is as dark as it is. This galaxy, NGC 3006, is in Ursa Majoris, magnitude 15.6, 0.7 by 0.2 arc minutes. So once again, it's a lenticular spiral 207 million light years distant, so it's probably somewhere around 70,000 light years in diameter. I have pretty high confidence on this one. Right ascension 9 hours 49 minutes 17 seconds with a declination of 44 degrees 1 minute and 32 seconds. The time now is 8:50. We're well into sky dark. We are getting a decent view. It's right in the middle of the screen, so why not run up the magnification a bit to see what it does for us. So now we are at 100%, which is 5 times 50 or 250x. We did a pretty good job of continuing to reveal the galaxy as we magnify to 250. And we're seeing the core with some extensions, if that truly is 3006. But getting this ZWO system has proven, with its associated software, to proving well worth it. We are operating at 250. I did set the focus better, but the stars are looking a bit diffuse. Let's see if we can get a few more in before I have to shut down the camera. Well, here is another galaxy in that NGC 3006 region. I can see it right there on the screen. This is NGC 3008 in Ursa Majoris, magnitude 15.4, smaller and more oblately presented at 0.5 by 0.3 arc minutes. Spiral with peculiarities, 225 million light years distant, puts it at about 70,000, maybe 80,000 light years in diameter. So pretty close to our own, puts it at about 50,000 light years in diameter, maybe slightly smaller. We're at right ascension, 9 hours, 49 minutes, 34 seconds, and 44 plus 44 degrees, 6 minutes and 6 seconds. We could be getting a little bit of blockage, but I am actually quite impressed with the view. So let's see if we can turn up a few more, maybe a little further south. Well, I'm not having much confidence in the scope's ability to center. We are at another galaxy. I can see it up there. It has a really bright core. It's rather small. It's supposed to be quite bright. It's in Leo. NGC 3011 in Leo, magnitude 13.3, 0.9 by 0.8 arc minutes, lenticular spiral with a ring, 72 million light years distant. So that puts it at about no more than 30,000 light years in diameter. Not sure we're getting much. I can see it, actually see it on the screen right about there. So maybe we are detecting these galaxies. We're at right ascension 940, 941, declination plus 32 degrees, 13 minutes and 14 seconds. I have a couple bars left on the camera. I may end up excluding some of the stuff I did earlier to keep the brevity of the video down under a half an hour. But yeah, it's really, I'm being rather reasonably impressed by the quality of what we're seeing on the screen, operating at, let's see, if we zoom in a little bit one more time. Yeah, at 50%, so that would be something like 120x, and it is present right there on the screen. And it's got pretty high definition. Although I'm not seeing a ring, there may be hints of it right about around the outside of the bright core. Okay, our next study is NGC 3112. Remember, I'm rather just picking them out just to get a sense of what this ZWO system and ASI Studio software are capable of. This is another galaxy very close to the last one. This is NGC 3012 in Leo Minor, magnitude 13.5, 1.1 by 1 arc minute. So maybe we mistook the last one. It's an elliptical 521 million light years distant, which puts it at about 180,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 9 hours, 49 minutes and 52 seconds with a declination of 34 degrees positive, 42 minutes and 50 seconds. We just had a meteor streak go through. I am operating under continuous mode with 10-second exposures, which approximates on a good night of seeing without a moon about a 20-inch telescope, even though we are imaging through a 150 millimeter ED f8 refractor. Okay, not too shabby. I wish I could get a better view of it on the camera, however. Okay, there is a very nice galaxy right down here, kind of edge on. I can't tell you what it is because we're actually looking for something that probably will turn up in this part of the screen. What we're looking for is NGC 3013, a galaxy in Leo Minor, magnitude 15.6, smallish, 0.4 by 0.4 arc minutes, and I am seeing what I think to be a core of a galaxy right there. Just considered a spiral, but it's 531 million light years distant. Its right ascension is 9 hours, 50 minutes, and 9 seconds with a declination of 33 degrees, 34 minutes, and 9 seconds. I'm going to allow it to expose one more time through, but I hope you're also seeing this galaxy towards the bottom of the screen. Very nice Egeon galaxy. Let's see if we can pick something else out. Maybe it'll be the one we're looking at here. Galaxy in Sextans, another one. Another galaxy in Leo, looks might be of some interest. Maybe we can get a sense of where we are at in terms of screen position by going there. Okay, I'm seeing a nice Egeon galaxy towards this part of the screen. Let me give you the specification on it. Now, I could center it up using the slide bars, and maybe that's what I should do. And let's see if everything falls in. And actually, there's another galaxy right there. I want to give you an idea of what we're operating at. So I'll go down, we're at 40%, 50%, which means basically about 125x. We're getting a view of two Egeon galaxies right there. Let's assume the one that I've now centered on the screen is NGC 3016. Now keep in mind that we are operating with a more higher efficiency, quantum efficiency camera that has internal cooling, has much greater resolution than Rev 2, and we're operating at 10-second exposure times instead of 5, and these are all being stacked. What we're looking at here, I hope, is NGC 3016, galaxy in Leo, magnitude 12.9, 1.2 by 0.9 arc minutes. 401 million light years distant puts this at about 150,000 light years in diameter. That 1.2 by 1.9 should not be giving us that kind of an edge-on appearance. I will have to go ahead and look in the sky live to see what kind of image it comes up with. I am not pleased with, although the centering of the mount was very good last time out, but that was over about 7 or 8 days ago. I have no idea what may have happened in the interim. So let this go ahead and accumulate a few more continuous images, and we shall have another look. Let's see if we can turn up a really bright galaxy, because we've already seen, oh, here's a magnitude 11.9, fairly large. Let's give that a shot. Well, folks, this is a fairly bright galaxy, and it's nowhere to be seen on the screen, so we may have been completely deceived in our previous views of galaxies. This is supposed to be NGC 3020, galaxy in Leo, magnitude 11.93 by 1.6 arc minutes. I'm not seeing it anywhere. It's right at 66 million light years distant, spiral with a bar and a lowercase c. I am very discouraged by the lack of accuracy of the mount this evening. I don't think I'm going to spend any time with it at all. We did get some decent views of galaxies, but we have no idea what they were. This is supposed to be at right ascension 9 hours, 50 minutes, and 6 seconds with a declination of 12 degrees, 48 minutes, and 48 seconds. However, nothing appears on the screen. So I've got some work ahead of me. I have to figure out how to get this camera to not be so over illuminated. Part of it may very well be that this bright bar across the top is causing it to auto adjust, in which case this part down here should be darker if it's adjusting to that, but it really doesn't seem to be doing that. So What I will do is I will try to go back to one more galaxy like we originally looked at, we'll go to M66 this time and see if it turns up anywhere on the screen. All right, we're not getting any kind of view of Messier 66, so we can pretty much assume that the mount has to have a new model in it. What I will try is reloading the model, parking the scope just to make it easy on myself and see what we can come up with. I'll park the scope, reload the model, and we'll have one more look. Why don't we look for a Galaxy 65, 66, see if we can get the Leo Trio, and then maybe turn the scope around on the Great Orion Nebula. I have 2 bars on the camera left of power. Okay, not too shabby. I did reload the model after parking the scope counterweight down. We are getting a pretty good view of what I believe is to be Messier 66. What I will do is see if I can get it aligned to Denebola first and see if it ends up in the same part of the screen, or Regulus, whatever is available on the handset. Okay, Denebola ended up in the same location on the screen as M66. I'm going to center it up and then resynchronize the scope. Okay, here's our first view of Messier 65. I can't really make it out very well on the Sony Handycam, so I'm a little discouraged about that. We're taking a 10-second view. I can play with the histogram, but I think I've pretty much set that up already. Alright, I wonder if I make it darker. It went out of focus. All we can see now is the core. Bringing the histogram back to this point here, and then playing with the lower set point there. Basically gets rid of the spiral arms of Messier 65. I would think we also should be able to see in the same field. No, we're at the lowest magnification, which is about 70x. I'm getting a pretty decent view on the screen, although I'm not happy with the aesthetics. So, as far as I'm concerned, the night has just been a botched exploration of possibilities for the future. Finally got a decent night. I'm sure there's high thin clouds up there, which is probably impacting the view somewhat, but at least we did get a chance to image some galaxies we know not what. Carpe Noctem. Okay, as a test, I finally got the camera to go into a manual mode for setting the brightness of the image on the screen. I am not actually seeing the galaxy. I've also boosted the brightness on the laptop. So I'm going to have to inspect this tomorrow. Here's the center of the galaxy, right where my pointer is. I'm not seeing it on the Handycam screen. So, and I've played with the histogram a little bit to see if I can't improve it. So, I'm going to reinitialize image capture and see if we get it there. Yes, I'm kind of seeing the core right there, but that's where the core actually is. That maybe that star we're seeing there. Anyway, so this has all been exploration tonight. We've had problems with the mount in terms of go-to precision. We've had problems with imaging what's on the screen using the Sony Handycam. And I'll have to inspect things on the morrow to see if we've made any improvements. Let's just go ahead. Oops, we just lost our exposure. Why don't we try a 30-second exposure just for the heck of it as an exploration. All right. Continuous means it should be able to overlay. I'm not seeing anything on the screen right now because it's taking quite a while to actually capture the first image. As I said, this evening's been mostly explorative. Unfortunately, the sky conditions were questionable, but I do seem to be able to explore all over the sky in order to be able to track things down, if only the go-to at Precision this evening, and we're not getting much of a view, even with a 30-second view of Messier 66. Once again, I'm going to repeat myself, Carpe Noctem.